bits of low tech, they are of some kind of lower stage. They are not the similar expertise and knowledge base as you have. And the common people, as you know, you are just making a kind of I must say adventure that is very adventurous, because many experts, even fortunately we had a faculty in our institute who got the President's Award in popularizing science. He was a professor in physics in our institute. He shared some of the things with me, and I tried to share, and he said, yes, your things are working. So I felt that probably once one gets aware about certain things, then that will be better. So this prep is very practical, and you should decide on the basis of that. This is what about the format, and as I said, you can create the format, and we'll talk about a bit in tone, because the rest of things are not very difficult to understand. You can see that the same tone, I mean, if you say in a very, very literal manner, I tone, we tone, you and they tone, then what they mean actually in a given context. It may not be always appropriately translated into practice in writing, but you should try your best to adjust so that none of this is highlighted with a negative issue. But you can see that if you are writing I, first person, then in some cases it is highly essential because you are taking responsibility for it. And there is a controversy still going on, but my suggestion to you is that you don't go for that passive voice presentation of your findings. If you are the scientist, if you are doing research on your own, and it is your first-hand experience, don't resort to passive, because that is not persuasive. I mean, I'm not saying it on my own. That will minimize the persuasive quotient of your writing. So naturally, you can see that in day-to-day conversations also, if somebody tries to resort to passive voice, then there is something fishy about it. That means there is a possibility that you are not ready to take responsibility for something. So as I can say, when both the things are there, sometimes
in scientific writing, we should have authoritative, inclusive approach. We or I in scientific communication. When we do something
here, nobody can prescribe you.
Yeah.
These are the options available, and depending on your context, you decide. You are the judge to find out which one is appropriate and in how balanced way I can manage that. That is also there. It's not only about one of the tone, but how you can use that. I'm giving again example. See, if you get a letter, in that letter, suppose there are 4 sentences, and every sentence starts with I. Then the reader gets a feeling that this fellow is trying to, impose. This fellow is trying to show his authority or something like that.
And sir, what about any scientific communication particular?
That's why I'm saying, I gave an example. Yes, sir.
Because most of the popular articles, I or we is mostly used, but for the scientific, particularly for I'm in physics background, most of the papers, most people, more than 95% papers, all are in the passive.
Passive voice.
Yes.
I have said that controversy is going on because people are not ready to get rid of their old practices. Yes, as clear as that. For example, there is something called as again that is controversial. Politically neutral language. All the democratic people, they should follow politically neutral language. Are we following? I won't elaborate. You can understand that. So it's not a question of you and me. It's a matter of a larger community. But the larger community is sometimes not questioning their own practices individually, and then only it will change. So,
and this happened for the editor itself, or even for the referees also. If you use I or we, they're forced to change in passive.
But sir, now I can sense that it is because it is our experiment. We did it. We have seen in the laboratory.
That's
so what is wrong? We should have in our experiment. we found and concluded, I think that is good.
See, sometimes, yes, I can understand the controversy is there and the practice is not becoming more rational and scientific because
What is
of
the meaning irresponsible?
second one, yes. See, suppose I'm writing a report. I was given the charge to investigate something and write a report. And inadvertently, sometimes people do it unknowingly. Again, you can share. You start write document. You start with I. Then next paragraph, sometimes you say you, and sometimes we. So you can check it on your own. In many of your writings, you can see if you have written 2-3 pages in a general topic, then you will find that all these things are there. So then you are mixing the tone.
I sometimes is it is arrogance.
That's why I said authoritative. I made it mild because authoritative is imposing sometimes. If you have authority, you will impose. So that's why I'm saying that it is not very rigid or it is not prescriptive in nature. You have to decide as a writer what will be suitable in a given context. So that is okay. And then the transformation, as I said, is not occurring. I must say. Again, I'm questioning, some people are there. How many of you were aware about somebody, some institution is there, some organization is there in this world, which is more than 70, almost 70 years old, which wants to bring about some kind of universality in science and technical communication. And what is happening? Then Sir has said rightly, they are imposing. The journals have their groups, and they are saying that if you want to publish in our group, then you have to abide by our rules.
Yeah.
So different journal groups have different kinds of standards, and the author is is helpless.
Abide the guidance.
See, that also is a kind of thing I'm doing about impact factor and all that. How they are all IVAs. That is also an area where works are needed, and people, those who are there, if you can try to do some research about that also. Anyway, so fixing responsibility and accusative. These are the two possibilities. So you can decide. Then avoiding your own, involvement. You say they, and anonymous. They is absolutely, not acceptable unless you define who are these things. Because you see, in some kind of scientific writers, even in standard journals, I have found they will mention in literature review some names sometime, and without names later on they'll say they. They have argued the point that without giving the names in detail and the publication in detail. This is the kind of practice which is going on, and people think if others have done it, we will also do it. So that is also possible. So, as I was saying, in the higher level, you have to add these 5 more levels to your ability. Information literacy, I think most of you must be knowing about it. How to decide that the content that you are referring to is standard, is authentic. You have to check it. There are several methods, and you are supposed to do that, and that's a part of writing responsibility. You cannot say that is something different. Then being articulate is necessary for higher academics. Then numbers, and that is highly essential for accuracy. And next one is pictorial presentations. How accurately or how conveniently you can communicate, not expressing things in words. So that is the principle. If you are taking the help of some kind of pictorial presentation, then how it can be done in a manner so that the reader will get absolute advantage out of it. Should I give an example? You see, in some kind of tables, you find that things are given, but the same table can be put forth in a pie chart, in a graph, or in other manners. But you know that in some cases, those who are young, they may not understand it right away unless they come across one example. Some people have taken the help of a particular pictorial presentation to highlight things they want to highlight, and that is not truth, and that should not be projected. Okay, so in that manner, things can be manipulated and people are doing it. So that is the purpose of using not only the right pictorial presentation, but going for the ethical standard which is necessary. That is a whole thing, whole area of knowledge. Okay, so then one problem is there. I talked about creating format. You can take the help of this kind of things to create some kind of format when it is not given to you in a very, very specific manner, as in case of a scientific report or a paper. Okay, so even the use of white space is necessary, and they call it visual logic. You have to manage a kind of uniformity so far as the printing space and the white space are concerned. Again, I can share one example from all of your experience. When you are reading a book, you come across a page, the whole of the page is almost one paragraph, maybe 1, 2, 3 sentences below our second paragraph. So what is the feeling that comes to most of the people's mind? Unless somebody is a very meticulous reader, that I'll read it some other times, not now. Unless there is an urgency and you cannot go, without reading that, then only you force yourself to read it. So that is the meaning of visual logic. You can separate that paragraph into different meaning blocks. Do you know the concept of developing meaning blocks in your writing? Okay, I'm giving a reverse example. Suppose you are reading a passage of 1,000 words and you find that after reading it, scanning it properly, there are 4 or 5 points the author has given. And he has given it in one paragraph, 1,000 words, in a very, very long space. And if you realize that there are 5 points, you have to make notes to understand what are the 5 points. So what I'm saying is, by developing the meaning blocks, the author should have done that. The author should have clearly said at the beginning that now I'm going to deliver these 5 points or these 5, aspects, and then you should have given it in a systematic manner, either using numbers or bullets or something like that, or even paragraphs, smaller paragraphs. So it would have been very easy for the reader to understand it. So that is called as developing meaning blocks. One should practice. Yes, this is an example of audience level analysis, how you can do it. I've taken this DVP, if you write for your own kind of people, that is equal in nature. If you are writing for lower tech, then this one, and then finally common people you can edit. This is the kind of mathematical sequencing, you can say, to manage these things. So paragraph organization is not a problem, many people say, but when they write, there is a problem. So, the problem is, can you tell when you are looking at a paragraph, if the reader is asking that what is the method you have used in this paragraph? You should be capable of saying it very clearly. I have used the priority method of developing this paragraph, or chronology is there, that is why it is a paragraph, or this is a problem and then solution, that kind of modeling is there. So any of these things should be there in your mind when you are writing, so that it will be clearly, conveyed and the reader will understand it. If you do not know it and write randomly, then the reader cannot get what is actually the strategy of your writing. So develop a tendency to tell yourself initially what is the method that you are using in this paragraph. Okay, so this is where overlooking. Then editing is a very big job, and sometimes people believe that it is not their cup of tea. But again, I'm sharing one real life situation so that you can understand it better. I was assigned the job of editing a paper, you can say newsletter, every evening of a national youth festival. And the students were collecting the items and reporting to the desk, where me and along with myself, some 2-3 other professors were there. And 2 people from the Department of Journalism, they are from a very reputed institute of this country. They came with some materials to me, and in one place I said, you do some editing and then give it to me, because this seems to be very sloppy writing. They looked at me with a very blank face. And when I inquired, what they said, sir, you are talented. You can edit. For the elderly people, faculty can edit. We are students, we cannot edit. But if you cannot say that. When you are publishing, you are supposed to publish papers. Then the first editor is you yourself as a writer. You are both writer and editor. Because it is a kind of, again, nowadays everything is mathematical. People have verified through a very long research in 129 countries that if you are using a language, you can minimum, correct 35% of your mistakes if you, take some kind of pain. Now it is up to you whether you want to reduce your mistakes by 35% or send it all to the editor. Then there is a chance of rejection. Again, their research has shown us that it can be extended up to 65%. 35 to 65% of the mistakes can be corrected by the writer himself or herself. So now the choice is in your hand. So this is a list. I thought that night very seriously that what can I say if somebody asks me what is editing. There are books, no doubt. There are, in manuals, writing manuals, you have elaborate expressions about that. But what exactly in a comprehensive manner you can do it, which is possible for the students to practice? I did this. And add and delete. If you go for editing, if you read a second or third time, you realize that there is something missed and you have to edit. Similarly, you have written something which is unnecessary, you have to delete it. Then, as I said, you have to have a plan before writing. So you compare with the plan, what is there, what is not there, and then contrast it to verify whether you are justified in saying what you are saying. So these are not very simple things. You have to have a very, very strong way of thinking critically and judge yourself. Because we never judge ourselves individually. We judge ourselves individually as a person. And as a person, I'm okay. So that is the general psychological state of mind. So don't judge yourself as a person. Judge yourself on the basis of what you have written and giving a judgment about that writing, not you as a writer. Okay? So that is a thing which is necessary for the judges also in the judiciary or individual writers also. Okay, so these are the things that you can do. And I think you can yes. So you can see that I'm just introducing, so I thought it is essential for me to share you some information about it. This society is there since 1953 and they are running two journals, one named Intercom, the other one is Technical Communication. So if you are in the field of science and technology, you can get a lot of benefit if you go to this kind of material. They have their website, so you can check a lot of material there also, but not these journals free of cost. They have developed a kind of ethical committee guidelines in 1995, and I'm sharing some of them. So these are the things that you can find which will be helpful for you to decide. And you can see that many of the points I discussed with you, they are dependent on the suggestions made by this committee in 1995. Then you can think about one more thing, some more journals which are not related to that particular organization in technical writing and communication. These are the journals which are very popular throughout the world. And the last one I'll suggest, if you are not initiated into any such thing till date, then you can look at this college composition and communication. It is not very specific for science and technology. It gives you articles related to how you can develop your composition skills so far as your academic requirements are concerned. So, in a nutshell, I think, is there time or is over? Okay, thank you.
Sir,
One last quote you can say is, see, I mean, it is again, it's not amusing is the highlight. Writing as a process can never be amusing. So don't expect that you will be happy or you will have a very pleasant experience while you are writing purposefully about any situation. So with that, I think I can stop and I'll take up a few questions and inquiries if the organizer allowed me
yeah,
to
yes,
do
sir.
that.
By 2 p.m. we have very important lecture by the former Vice Chancellor, Professor Rakesh Bhatnagar. In between we have a lunch. You people go and come quickly. But the senior professors will have lunch over here in our department. We can take few questions. It will be good that if you can clarify some doubts. Sir, please. Any question? Come. Any question from any students, even from any faculty member?
This is my personal email, not the official one, so you can write.
You can ask in Hindi, in English.
कोई स्टूडेंट आपके साथ ऐसे ज्वाइन करता है तो उनको जैसे मोटिवेट करना राइटिंग के लिए, जैसे स्टूडेंट मान लीजिए ज्वाइनिंग किया तो उनका पास वो पीछे से ब्लैंक होते हैं, तो उनको कैसे मतलब कहाँ से जैसे कुछ जो शुरुआत समझाई जाए, कहाँ से शुरू कर सके या उनको कैसे मोटिवेट कर सके, कुछ ऐसे कुछ आइडिया जनरल जैसे वो उसको बेनिफिट हो सके।
सर कह रहे थे ब्लैंक पेज सिंड्रोम।
वो मतलब उनको समझ में नहीं आता कि कहाँ से स्टार्टिंग करें, कैसे लिखे, और उतना समय रहता नहीं कि एक एक चीज लाइन पे जैसे आप यूजिंग आपके बच्चे पीजी बच्चों को आप एक एक लाइन लिखवा सको।
So there is no shortcut. That is my experience. See, initially you have a very big hurdle that is inherently there in our setup. Even people, those who join eminent institutions, they do not have the minimum necessary vocabulary to communicate. So, as you said, I mean, I'm very categorically answering your question. We should initiate them with that list. Okay, that list is given in Webster's dictionary, in Collins-Coville dictionary. Towards the end of dictionary, the minimum number of words are there. So that is in some publications they vary, but as I know, it is minimum is 850 to some cases 1150 or 200, depending on the authors who have decided. And they should know those words even to find the meaning of any other word in a dictionary. If they do not know it, then nobody can help them. No teacher, no God. Second thing is that they should have a tendency to develop vocabulary. And I'm addressing all of you. You can only attain new vocabulary very easily and quickly up to the age of 24 approximately. Not beyond that. Unless you are like me, or the editors of newspaper or magazines or writers. And the scope, again, sometimes people say he embarrasses everybody. But if you take, there are some formulas available in the net where you can find out your vocabulary strength. Have you done that yet? Then what are you watching in? So net is for this thing. Another thing. That also has been experimentally found that if you are a graduate, you should have, any field, you should have around 25,000 words. And, out of that, some 3,000 words or so are related to the branch of knowledge you are reading or you are studying. Okay? But if you do not have that, then in your post-graduation, you will not acquire a very good, grade. But people don't understand, people are not aware about it also. Okay, another thing I would like to say, that after, the strength of a human being is possible to acquire around 75,000 to 80,000 words. How much? 75. So, you can decide. whether you should have 25,000. Another thing I would like to share with you, that these 75 to 80,000 words are essential for good quality writers and editors. And there are a number of them. I mean, I'm not saying that they're rare. So you decide, if you want to become an academician, then how you are going to do it. There are word power development books. I don't want to give the names, you can try, but the most prominent in the whole world, there are two people, Norman Louis and Wilfred Funk. You can try, they have written more than half a dozen books. So individually, so you can decide depending on your capability where you want to start. He said, where to start? He asked, so that is what you can say. As a teacher, you can initiate this much. And then the next step is the minimum grammar skill, which is essential. I'm not saying that you should go for a very big, thick, grammar book and then get frustrated. There's a new concept which has come up. Again, that is not known to our world. That is known as globis. Globis, have you heard about this word? Globbish, globis. Instead of English. Globis, by definition, is English for global communication needs. It is not adhering to all kinds of nuances and unnecessary things related to English language as such, projected, propagated, and imposed by the Britishers. Okay, so now you can decide. So they have their own way of deciding things, how minimum use of frames, structural frames, instead of polygraph, you can communicate, and that is highly essential for science and technology, if not for humanities. So you can search this word, globis. You have the number of words, as I was saying, in case of other dictionaries. Globis has also a list of minimum number of words. So you can depend on that as a beginner. I'm responding to his question, but you can get the benefit out of it. So you can decide individually where are you and what you want to do. Please remember one thing, philosophically I'm saying it, but every individual is a philosopher in one or two ways. Never think about a vision. Vision is a wrong one. Vision means the visionary kind of thing. As an individual, you decide where you are standing at the present moment and decide a destination, not a vision. Because vision always blurs. It gives you a kind of mirage. You cannot decide on something like a school. You decide where you stand at the present moment in whatever field and fix a destination so that you can chart a path with some kind of logistics, some kind of scientific outlook, and some kind of creativity if you are capable of. Thank you.
Initially you said there is academic and technical writing. So what is the difference there?
Yes. Cater to the diverse target audience, sometimes we have to do it. In technical communication, it is highly purpose oriented. And it is, you can say, if you take chronological things into account, very time oriented. So that, something is said or something is written, that is executed, that is taken care of, that is looked into. But in case of academic writing, it is not that sudden. So what happens, in technical writing, some of the lapses are overlooked. So far as the language.
So it means in technical writing, vocabulary may not be limitation. Because too much of the vocabulary, suppose if you are reading Shashi through, you may not be able to understand what he is saying. Because you need a high level of vocabulary for that. In technical writing, the purpose is that person should understand what we want to communicate. Is it so or this is different?
That I think I have said it very clearly. When you gave that example is of somebody intellectually powerful, and the target community is expected to be equally well conversant in the English language and intellectually, very, very sound. So they do not write for the common people. Okay, so that is a different thing. But if you are writing something and saying that this is a technical communication or is a technical document, you cannot do that. You have to depend on, as I said, the many of these. Again,
No,
if you
technical document is for masses.
If you have raised the question, I must tell you again. After that building block, the first limit I said, the minimum number of words, then you can also sort in any machine. The area, that means vocabulary for science and technology in general, you will get. But vocabulary for mechanical engineering, now available. And I reviewed a book recently for a UK publisher. The title of the book is English for Chemical and Allied Industries. So it has become very convenient for you people. When I was doing my graduation, we were crying and cramping to acquire words. And naturally, I was one among the best in the area. But that was a kind of very big fight. We used to read a lot of things and connect to many things which are not available in the internet. So that's the thing. As you were saying, for all kinds of higher academics, it is a blind belief with the people that if I know, then the rest of the people should be knowing. I'm giving a very, very appropriate example here. I read a book on structure. And in the initial pages, he was referring to many things related to the ancient literature from Greek origin. And it was surprising that I thought that it might be an aberration. One writer has done it. But then I checked with a few medical professionals. They said, okay, this happens because they want to show that they are not only immersed in this particular branch of knowledge, but they are intellectually sound, with a question mark. I mean, that is not actually intellectual sound, but to show something like that, you are using a different one.
So just to start comment, so are you telling that whatever piece which has been there in the editorial pages or paper in newspaper is the technical writing?
No. Editorial is not technical. Editorial, if you talk about a sensible writing skill which can be a part of technical communication, I can highlight one issue. That is, the editors know how to develop their premises so that invariably, if you are reading till the end of that page, that document, you try to subscribe to their ideas. I mean, those who have done, again, an experiment, you can do it in future, that you have a view about a particular issue on which the editorial is there. You start reading first 2-3 sentences, you disagree personally with them. But if you keep on reading, if you realize that towards the end of it, you realize that invariably or unconsciously, you are taking their opinion as your own. So that again, that is, as I said, persuasive quality of the writing. That is necessary. That is because when you are creating premises, you should be scientific, with scientific outlook.
So the technical writing is for masses and the academic writing is for a particular section.
No, technical writing is not for masses. Technical writing is depending on the category of people. The target community will decide how you are writing. It is not for masses. Yes, it can be, but as a part of it. But as you are doing it, you should know which are the target communities. Accordingly, you can do it.
Sir, you mentioned average length of sentence. But is there any criteria to maximum length of sentence? How much maximum length of sentence is limit? But it is good practice to break so lengthy sentence in a small part. It's especially for when we are going to submit an article for such papers.
See, this is a very normal practice nowadays. People write almost 40 to 50 words in one sentence without any punctuation. That cannot be accepted. So you decide on your own that how many things that you want to induce into that sentence, you identify. You should be capable of identifying and then try to put it in different sentences. But it is not necessary all the while to put in different sentences. You can take the help of conjunction and punctuation to continue, but there should be a kind of logic in it. That is why we call sentence structure. It cannot be arbitrary in nature. If it is arbitrary, then the meaning will be ambiguous or open to misinterpretation. But for you, if you are doing it, then I must tell you that you should start writing. There is no such thing as this is a limit. But again, if you depend on fog index I talked about, then it says that if the fog index is around 18, there is a formula, you can check it. So if you use that formula and find that your writing has the index of 18, then it is sound for the academic readers, those, I mean, for postgraduate people or higher people or reader of journals in that particular area, that is sound. If it is beyond 23, then nobody can understand it. The kind of picture I was showing, the reader is different and the writer is separate, that kind of atmosphere will be.
So students, you go for lunch. Just by 2 p.m. you join here to listen to a very important topic. Academic integrity will be delivered by Professor Rakesh Bhatnagar, Honorable Vice Chancellor, former Vice Chancellor of Banaras University. It will be through virtual mode. Please come soon. Thank you very much, sir. We will go to our department to have lunch. All the senior professors, let us accompany with me to have lunch. Thank you.
लंच आ गया?
हेलो, हाँ सर। हाँ सर बोलिए।
रतन सर बोल रहा है।
रतन बोल रहे हैं सर।
माइक ऑन कर दे, माइक ऑन कर दे।
सर हेलो हेलो सर बोलिए। हाँ अब आ रहा है, बहुत अच्छा वॉइस आ रहा है।
बोलिए
अब मैं विजिबल हूँ? अच्छा, मैं विजिबल भी हूँ, ऑडिबल भी हूँ। तो मुझे लग रहा है 2 बजे रख दिया, बहुत टाइम गड़बड़ हो गया क्या? थोड़ा सा डिले कर सकते थे।
थोड़ा सा लेट हो रहा है सर।
ठीक है, आवाज
हाँ सर, ठीक है सर, ठीक है सर। यस सर। और हम सोचे खाली बैनर पे ले जाके सेट करने का, वो तो कोई तो आएगा नहीं, इसे लगेगा डाइस खत्म है। चलो, गर्मी की राइटिंग ठीक है। सर को पिन किए। बोलिए सर.
Good afternoon, sir. Am I audible? David Vice Chancellor is there? I think he's there. Huh? Sir, we'll be taking a few minutes more, sir. I'm extremely sorry. The participants are taking launch. Some of them have completed already. Some of them joined. Please come, sir.